But again, at least got this one game here today. The other ones, though, obviously, will be on Saturday. If anything, is for the better. Not only gets us the match today, but it kind of spreads them out and lets us cover more. Anyways, Mega joining once again. We already see a very interesting start here to game number 2. Ophelia, Cthulhuphant, Chipper, and Swiftblade being banned. Engineer first picked. I mean, they kind of snap picked that too. And then they go Flux on top. So let's just say they have a plan in mind.
Yeah, definitely, and at least they've realised that they couldn't go that kind of greedy lineup here with the War Beast and just go all out sort of late game. It was just a little bit too much, and I do like the change of style in that sense. And now they're going to go something for a bit more team fight oriented, a bit that AOE style. They picked up the Engineer and Flux, and Wretched had probably the perfect carry to sort of fit in the AOE lineup, whereas BMG is still trying to follow that heavy gank potential, particularly with the first pick Revenant. That wasn't blind banned, so at least we get to see a bit of Revenant and what he can do on BMG.
I had to do a double take on that first line posted by Quincy right there. I'm like, whoa, Engineer, really strong. Why does nobody pick this guy up? No, 82 games, and it makes a little more sense with that other stat line right there. But yeah, so the AOE synergy, the Wombo combo potential is clearly where Nullstone Game is going to go with here, and exactly they know that, especially after that first game, maybe feeling almost even a little bit outmatched, and going to try to play around that by doing the Wombo combo thing. Parasite to finish things off though for BMG. Tankafed again, like I said, with him being one of these players that is kind of coming back from what we remember of him, he definitely proved that he could play the jungle role very, very strong, and it seems like that's kind of what BMG is going to start with here, at least early on in Cycle 2. Most certainly a great secondary support player as well, but going to once again be on that Parasite. So they get the Kraken, kind of most of a takeaway, but also for themselves. And then the Revenant, that's going to be fun to see. The last time we saw Revenant, at least the one that really stood out was that Super KGE against Willowkeeper.
Annihilation.
Yeah, he to say it, well, safely, I mean, he annihilated with it. He dominated with it, and that was a lot of fun to watch. So, yeah, and he was banned the first game, actually. Revenant was banned, but they decided to go with the Chipper ban this time around. It probably makes sense the way Exhibit played that, so you gotta kind of pick your poison, though, as the phrase goes. But Empath, Tempest, Glacius, Pharaoh, Rhapsody, and Magnus are going to be banned out here.
I really do like the bans cut from Tankafed, and I mean, my initial doubts about him as a captain or as a drafter are completely washed away, particularly in Game 1, but also in this draft here. I mean, like, he recognised, how the style here of The Last of Us or the Nullstone gaming has been changed, and for them to sort of pick up the team fight oriented lineup here with the Engineer Flux, and then his bans are very targeted. Obviously the Tempest, the Pharaoh, the Magnus, all the heroes that have strong AOE potential. Okay, we do see the Keeper of the Forest picked up. But then the Bubbles response pick, and I just think Tankafed. I mean, I had the initial doubts of him being quite weak as a captain and a drafter, but clearly showing, he's no stranger to the captain and drafter role.
Oh yeah, I want to see something like even like a Jeraziah here. It's just some really strong team fight support hero, like not necessarily support hero, but just a different kind of team fight hero. Especially
I think it'd be a suicide. I mean, it's most likely going to be a suicide though, because otherwise they'd have to dual lane with a Wretched Hag. Okay, we see the Pestilence, so that's going to be a suicide Wretched Hag most likely.
Yeah.
Flux solo mid and then support. Oh no, they're probably going to do the dual lane Pestilence Engineer and then just run the Flux solo short and then Wretched Hag suicide. That can work as well.
Yeah.
In that sense, though, I mean, Wretched Hag Suicide though is quite weak. I mean, we used to see it back in the day of TDM, but now, I mean, sometimes we see like a dual support or even Parasite being picked up a lot more now than we used to see. So I mean, expect Wretched Hag here on the Suicide not to have the greatest of times and get picked up quite often. I mean, it depends depending on what the solo short hero is going to be. Expect a lot of ganks there on the Wretched Hag and not to have an easy time per se in the laning phase.
Mm-hmm. Well, we'll see where that ends up. The final pick, though, Tankafed going to put some good thought into this one. They have all the time, so why not? Obviously, they already know which 5 heroes they are going up against, so make sure that you're comfortable with this final pick, whatever it may be. Again, right now, yeah?
Yeah, I was saying, it depends if they're going to run the Revenant as the support or they're going to run him as a core. I'd like to see actually a support picked up there because they don't really have the greatest sort of set stuns. Obviously, they've got the Kraken charge and the Bubble's helpful, but they don't really have a set stun to really sort of start the initiation going. And they've got a lot of sort of they don't have any targeted spells, so maybe something like a simple, like even like a Luna or a Master of Arms, something. But I guess we'll have to see in the next couple of seconds here.
Or a safe option, you know, something like a Torturer. Yep, there you go.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, something like I didn't expect a Revenant to be support. It just didn't make a lot of sense. However, though, they don't really have the greatest of carry potential. We saw in game one, obviously, we had the Haxrin on the Mage Bane. But here, I mean, it's very, very early. I mean, they have to. I mean, with this style of draft they're going here, I mean, they have to be like really far ahead in terms of the early game. I mean, they were in game one, but at least they had that safe net of the Mage Bane. But here, they don't really have that kind of safe net. I guess they do have the Revenant, but compare it to like a Wretched Hag Pestilence combo. I mean, it's not going to be able to outcarry them two. So they need to get a lot of early kills here. Otherwise, they might sort of suffer in terms of the mid and late game. To handle against the amount of team fight that the Legion have.
Well, they had no problem with that in game number one, so
it's true.
Going to be going for that that same thing here in game number two, and why not? Let's start things off with a pause here in what has been the series of pauses so far.
But I mean, going over like the sort of team strategy for Legion, I mean, I think they realised that there's no need to go sort of early late game. They can beat BMG here with just the team fight. So if things start going badly early on, at least they can sort of group up. They have the pushing potential with the Keeper of the Forest, and they've got great team fight potential with like the Engineer Flux and Wretched Hag. The one thing they have to be wary of, though, is not to drop too far behind early on, because if they are down like 5-10 kills in the first sort of 10 minutes, then their team fight potential is going to be completely weakened. And even though they do have the better team fight draft, I mean, if they're 10,000 gold behind, they are not winning those team fights. So for Hellborn, the pressure has to be straight off the mark. I mean, ganks at level 1, level 2, if they want to sort of at least have some kind of presence in the team fights.
Tank Effect perhaps going to have a lot to do with that, obviously, with that Parasite presence of his. Revenant also, again, being played by Super KG, like we just talked about when that hero was picked up. We saw that game against Willowkeeper. We ended up getting an annihilation and overall just dominating, ultimately leading his team to victory over what was actually a fairly close game number. That was a game 3 in the winter bracket semifinals, if I'm not mistaken. That obviously they needed to win to move on to stay alive there in the winners bracket, and Willowkeeper had that up-and-coming, not so much up-and-coming anymore, just obviously has kind of made a point that they are a team to reckon with. Neil Lee pulling off the upset, but him on that Revenant, a big part why that was not the case, obviously. But yeah, him, and also with that Invis, the Essence Shroud, as it's specifically called, is going to be a big part. And that also keeping that in mind, the Rev Force, but obviously having that Swarm will be powerful from Pestilence for that purpose amongst the minus armor that they have to work with. So, into the landing phase. Going to be going here now. But yeah, Cena keeping the Force jungle here. Definitely a very passive jungler. Needs some time. The entire Legion team is comprised of new player here. Really? That is interesting.
It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, no one's playing a hero that they played before, at least on record. And again, that's only through Karnja Kaldivar and Han Tour Season 3 so far, but still. That's something.
Okay, so it looks like we're going to see Revenant Torturer here in the middle lane. And actually, I think this is going to work so well, because it's most likely going to be like I think it's going to be a Pestilence Engineer in the middle lane. Although Pestilence is forming in the bottom lane, so unless they're going to run the Engineer bottom, or they're going to run a Pestilence solo, which... so it's going to be most like the Engineer Pestilence bottom against the Kraken. And actually, for Nullstone Gaming, these are probably the best lanes that could have occurred, actually. Because if Pestilence Engineer was mid, they would have been absolutely crushed by the Torturer Revenant, because the amount of harass they can put out.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of when you go against dual range, the only sort of hero compositions that can really beat that is sort of the hookers, like your Devourer, your Gauntlet, your prisoners. But against the Pestilence or Magnuses, they will get crushed. But we see another lane rotation. They're rotating down here. The Revenant and Torturer is going to be going in the bottom lane, and Parasite's already starting in the enemy jungle. So similar to game 1, actually, the aggressive dual lane is coming out, and I think this is actually going to be very favourable here for BMG, because Keeper's going to have a very hard time boxing out the Parasite.
Yeah, this is some interesting stuff. I mean, just seeing Haxrin playing the Kraken, first off, again, that kind of just goes back to him just playing a different hero, speaking of not really player-hero combinations. That's not one you really remember him playing too much, but going to be playing it here, in this case, Zibe, of course, on that Bubbles. In the end, look at Tank Effect, though, being the annoying Parasite that any Parasite player can be, especially against another passive jungler. And takes the Vagabond later, harasses Keeper of the Force a little bit with it, even kills one of his minions, I think, and then just runs away and goes to another camp here. to continue that farm. But yeah, very aggressive dual lane here with that Torturer Revenant, and obviously with that Parasite presence. So the switch up most certainly the right call for BMG. And as far as Nullstone Gaming is concerned, I mean, what can they do? It's again a passive jungler to keep it the forest. They really can't do much else than just keep it as it is for the time being.
Yeah, I mean, they could rotate the Hag down here, but that's so much lane, sort of reversals that, I mean, is it even worth it? But at the same time, I mean, Engineer and Pestilence, they cannot fight against this Torturer Revenant, let alone when Parasite's already coming in. He's already putting harassment onto this Pestilence. Actually, stun onto Parasite.
Wow, Parasite going deep right there. Chain reaction is going to be coming out. That was a bad timing, too, with the creep wave. So Tankafet, not the best decision right there, but he ultimately does survive, of course, with some assistance right there. So yeah, a little bit kind of poking in, seeing what was going on behind the tower. Almost backfired, but in the end, he is going to be fine. As we see, and in fact, he's going to sit around the 2-minute rune right here, looks like. So see if there's possibly going to be that 2-minute haste rune for a kill. No, it's just a refreshment rune. Regen rune actually spawning top right there, so not the biggest deal in the world. But as far as matchups going so far, we got Fuzzy Sloth here playing the Flux now, 13-4. Against Axeron's Kraken, who's 5-0. Again, he came a little bit late with that lane switch up right there, but overall, Flux is having a much better time, and he is a very, very strong 1v1 laner, especially. So, I think it's safe to say, not too surprising to see that.
Yeah. I mean, the most important lane, though, is this bottom lane. I mean, they've got at least the 3 of the heroes, and Pestilence is getting absolutely no farm. And this is what I expected to happen in the middle lane, but they ended up rotating down bottom. And Pestilence can't even go up for a last hit without getting so much harassment onto him from the sort of stun. Actually, middle lane, Kraken loses a lot of HP, and he was talking about the presence of Flux, and at least they have some kind of winning in terms of the lanes here for Nullstone Gaming. I mean, they're lacking behind a little bit in terms of golden XP, but that's not the biggest of deals. It's just if they can really get this farm on the Pestilence, they need to prioritise this farm on the Pestilence. He's their initiator at the moment. If they can get a portal kill on him, then everything's okay in that sense. But at the moment, he's having such a hard time here in the bottom lane, and it might get him a little bit worse. Parasite is rotating over with a Pustula. Yep,
there we go. He comes out the slow, a little bit applied. The leech going to be used as well, but Torture just can't get in range. He dives, but not going to happen, as more support was coming to keep it the forest. Not the most threatening necessarily, but still enough to kind of scare them off right there. So, good attempt.
Yeah. But I mean, as long as Legion aren't dying, this is perfect, honestly, because once Keeper of the Forest gets level 6, there's no way that Hellborn can really lane down there, because it's just a little bit too dangerous for it to have 3 players in the long lane. But if BMG can start getting kills, then that should be fine. But then Parasite's already rotating over. So actually, for The Last of Us, or for Nullstone Gaming, actually, I mean, the worst is almost already gone. Because without Parasite in the jungle, I mean, Torture and Revenant are going to have such a hard time killing Pestilence and Engineer. Yeah, I mean, they will box him out in terms of him not getting any last hits, but as long as they don't die, have a static 150 GPM, at least they can recover from that. But if they're dying, I mean, it's going to be so hard to get back from it. I mean, we talked about how Hellborn's game plan is to get as much kills on the board as early as possible, and 0 deaths already at 4 minutes is actually a good start here for The Last of Us. They have the superior team fight. They just need to get into the mid game without taking too much disadvantage in terms of the kills. And at the moment, it's working quite well for them already. So.
Yeah, I mean, you can just see this bottom lane, the positioning here again. So staying alive, but Pestilence and Engineer, it's because they're just playing so damn passive. But yeah, it goes back to you. It sucks to play that way. Not the most entertaining to watch either, but it's definitely what they need to be doing here if it wants to give them the best chance. So Flux does have an Invis rune. He is level 6 as well, and he has that global presence, of course, with the ultimate. I'm not necessarily saying they're going to use it and go for a kill, but
yeah, I mean, Flux isn't one of the best gankers. I mean, I think when we expect a rotation coming out from The Last of Us, it will most likely be from a keeper level 6, but for BMG, it's almost any time and anywhere at the moment. They need to get some early kills on the board, because, I mean, although they are ahead in terms of golden XP, when it gets into the mid-game, they need to be 5, 6, 7,000 gold ahead if they want to take these team fights and even take the game. I mean, they have a lot of farm on Super KGE, but, I mean, that's not really that scary. Actually, Engineers... Torture's going to try and pick off this courier here in the bottom lane, but he does get inbound in the end. But yeah, I mean, as long as they can keep it slow, try and slow down the game as much as possible here for The Last of Us. Don't give any kills away. they will be in a good spot. But it looks like Parasite's already rotating back into the enemy jungle, so expect more action come out from BMG in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, health push going to be popped. He does have that dust on him as well. So 6-minute rune also going to be spawning here. Very shortly. I was surprised Parasite didn't maybe wait for that. He actually takes over the Vulture, though. It's just a refreshment. Top rune is going to be... Oh, no. The bottom rune ends up being double damage, actually. So we'll see who ends up getting to that first. As Parasite looks like he's actually heading over there. And if anything, it's going to be a bottle up for Kraken. So that'll be perhaps a Bloodlust rune to come out here. If BMG can make the best use of it, are they going to give it... okay, Kraken's going to be sitting on it. Yeah, they're going to try to find... Give me the force. He does have Nature's Veil, but again, there is dust on Parasite, so he's going to try to use it. Out comes the dust, I'm sure. There we go. It took a little bit of time, but they finally get it off. And Tank Effect gets the Bloodlust kill. So, yeah, we saw that coming. He did not.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, actually, Torturer bottom lane.
Yeah, Torturer might be in a little bit of trouble. However, this could backfire for the Legion team if they're not careful. A charge here from Kraken. He has to release the Kraken. Good easy right there. Engineer's definitely going to get picked off. Will there be a response, though? Flux pulls him in. Mortification applied to Flux, though. Impale for Pestilence. It's only level 2, though, so not the most damage. And actually, he's going to start dropping. One auto attack. No, Kraken gets pulled back. Beautiful timing from Flux right there. The splash double damage was ready to go, but not enough. The flight is going to be enough. In the meantime, Kraken, though, now they're looking to turn it on to Flux to Mortification. Nice blocking with the trees, though, and Kraken says, screw this. I need to get the hell on out of here. I'm getting low. Parasite still wants this kill. He's not going to get it, though. He's just a little too tanky, and now he needs to be careful. He gets pulled back in. Flux stays alive that whole time. Finally gets picked off, and Revenant will skirt on out of there with the Essence Shroud. That fight took a long time.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
I mean, and this all goes back to what I was just about to point out before that happened, is that Engineer's been sitting on these 2 wards, and they need to get this vision up. I mean, they expect the Hellborn. I mean, the Hellborn's game plan is to gank, and I mean, the best counter to all the ganking potential is these wards. And they didn't have a single ward on the map when that happened. They didn't have any rune vision. They finally placed a ward here in the bottom lane, but I mean, 7 minutes without any rune vision is honestly quite bad, to put it simply.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is like the top standard of the team. When you're going against a heavy gank lineup as well, you've just got to play better than that. I mean, yeah, okay, they lost 4 kills, but they did return 2. But still, now they're nearly 3,000 gold in it, and this is what I was talking about. Once you give up a few kills, I mean, it's a slippery slope here for Nullstone Gaming. They need to sort of try and minimise their death as much as possible. They can take the mid game without a doubt, as long as they don't give too many kills away. They need to sort of put the wards up, get at least some rune vision here in the bottom lane, and just try and minimise the deaths, because if they give away too many, it's going to be very, very hard to get back into this game.
Now, win level, especially with the way things are starting here, Keeper the Force, he's still level 5. I was going to say that once he hits level 6,
yep.
Would you say Nullstone Gaming needs to really just turn it on and try to set up a team fight and gank somewhere?
Not a team fight. It's too early for a team fight, but they can at least set up a gank here in the bottom lane. They need I mean, Keeper's level 6 now. He needs to get mana and really sort of secure this bottom lane here. They've already got a ward here from Drench, but actually top lane, Hag's most likely falling as well.
Yep. Zebe gets a snipe right there with the Shell Surf. Obviously, the Kelpit holding him in place. Middle lane in the meantime, Hacks are in. Okay, no, just going back and forth, though.
Yeah, and this is what I was talking about, Hag's having such a bad time, because, I mean, not the strongest of suicides, honestly, particularly when you're going against a Parasite and Bubbles. The amount of silence coming out is just too much for Hag to handle. But yeah, so, I mean, Creeper is level 6. They need to control this bottom lane, force this Revenant out. As long as, you know, they've got the ward here, they can control this bottom lane. But here's the Breadfall already coming out from support. It's a great play from him. But either way, it's your middle lane. Yeah,
Kraken going to be collapsed. But no, Flux is going to be turned in the end. They release Kraken, and the team support comes out. Let's watch the bottom lane. This is why Pestilence, he is being dove on quite a bit. He is going to be fine in the end, but actually now Engineer getting caught out. But Revenant just cannot get close enough to get in some damage. Hag is porting in. She's going to try to go for a counter kill. She has a Bat Blast. Does she want to waste it here, though? Haunt comes out. Bubbles is coming out from the side, as you're mentioning. Soda Scream going to be used. Yeah, did not want to waste the Bat Blast right here in the meantime. Bubbles picks off Beaverbanger, playing the Pestilence. And now Wretched Hag all of a sudden is the one that needs to get away. Yeah, that just didn't work out. I mean, he did not want to commit for it, and thus did not get the kill. And actually, Bubbles is now going to chase down Wretched Hag. So I'm going to see each other. And he gets a hat trick. Are you kidding me? That's just like last game with Chipper. What just happened? Oh my gosh.
And look in the space for a couple of minutes. They're already 6,000 gold, 6,000 experience out. And I said this is exactly how BMG needs to play it. and they're playing it perfectly. But at the same time, I mean, it has to go back to The Last of Us. I mean, they had to expect this. They knew the game plan here for BMG, and it honestly wasn't too hard to counter it. They need to have the wards up. They need to sort of play passive, and yet they've gave BMG a loud, and they're diving here in the bottom lane as well.
Yeah, they're sticking around. Kelfield's not up, just hits up in 5 seconds. They're hoping to maybe wait for that. He says, screw this, I got to get the hell on out of here. Root comes out. Kraken's going to be left alone with Revenant. So, I mean, he has his kill field, but Bubbles deciding it's just best to get the hell on out of there. So he survives at least. Kraken does not. Revenant also gets away. Barely, but he does. So, yeah, I mean, they dove pretty heavily right there. And it did require quite a bit of resources, including that Keep of the Force ultimate. But they do at least get a kill on a Kraken in the end. So, finally, a little bit of something there, but again, they're going to need a lot more with the way this game is starting, and now they're going to have to wait for that Keep of the Force root to be back up in about 90 seconds before they have a big threat once again. So, have some time pass by. Look at Bubbles, though. Exhibit continues to be active. Kelfield comes out again. The stun hits. Wretched Hag. Will he be fine? He's probably waiting for the shells there. If they're waiting for each other to do something, there we go. There's the port. And actually, Bubbles, I don't think. Yeah, he's going to be the wrong direction, so trying to time it, but Wretched Hag being a little too sneaky right there. And gets the hell on out. But I just love Exhibit is quickly becoming a player that a lot of people are liking more and more to watch.
He's so aggressive and he's playing it perfectly. Well, this is exactly the strategy for BMG, what they needed. They need to get aggressive. They don't really have any potential when it comes into the middle late game. Actually, top lane.
Are you kidding me? He chases him that whole time and eventually collapses for the kill with Parasite there. And look at that, actually. He actually has played Bubbles quite a bit. I didn't even realize he did, but played Bubbles quite a bit, and that's some impressive stats right there. Coming out, including the 100% win percentage. He's looking to keep that at 100. The way this game's going, I wouldn't be surprised. Middle tower kill also happening. Obviously, Tankafet was an assistant in that last fight. The top 4 farmers in this game belong to BMG and Engineer. It's going to get even better. What is Drench just kind of doing? I mean, he's behind his secondary tower, so I guess you can't blame him too much, but the dive is just way too strong. And Bubbles is going to try to get out. Uh-oh. Oh, my God, he's fine. That was a little scary.
He couldn't stun him either way. But yeah, I mean, BMG, though, I mean, they knew exactly what they had to do. That they executed their game plan perfectly. I mean, if honest, if it was getting to the point in the game where it was even, I mean, Legion would have almost already won this game. They knew they had to win early. They knew they had to get a lot of kills early on the board, and they have. They've done that perfectly. But at the same time, I mean, you could give a bit of the blame to Nullstone Gamer as well. I mean, all they had to do is really get to the 15-minute mark and sort of trade even. And in the end, I mean, they couldn't even get past the sort of 10-minute mark before losing all these kills. Actually, mid lane.
At least the Kraken, it does keep Flux in place. Flux is level 10, but how they're going to be able to make something happen right here? Bubbles in the meantime, he's going to start running away. Kraken does pick off Flux while they're still chasing. Root finally comes out a little bit later, but it is used, but by the time it's used, there's no follow-up, and now they're going to turn on once again. Batplat's finally used. Not going to be nearly enough damage. Keep of the Force does comes out. He cannot hide anymore, and he too will fall. Double down for Super KGE. And no doubt Nullstone Gaming is on the verge of just saying, looking at that timer and being like, yeah, we are going to be done with this because put us out of our misery. BMG is just now officially rolling over Nullstone Gaming here in game number 2, just like they did in game number 1.
But I mean, this does go back to the sort of the strategy of BMG. I mean, yeah, I mean, BMG are so far ahead, but I mean, this is the game plan they had to run. I mean, if they weren't sort of racking up 10 to 15 kills in the 15-minute mark, then it would have been, they would have been playing it wrong. They would have been playing it badly. I mean, yeah, BMG have played fantastic these last 2 games, but at the same time, they're expected to get these kind of kills. They drafted very early aggressive heroes. If they didn't get these kind of kills, then they would be playing the strategy wrong. So, although, yeah, I mean, they played fantastic. I mean, they're sort of expected to get on and get these kills if the heroes they've drafted.
Yeah.
Kind of makes sense.
He placed a ward site right in it. Literally, the Rev Ward was right there, and he actually placed a ward site right on top of it. That was funny. But
yeah, I mean, it's definitely looking incredibly rough here for Nullstone Gaming. But I mean, all they need is that one team fight for it to go quite well. I mean, if all the elements hit perfectly, I mean, they can at least get back into it, at least even a couple of team fights. But here comes the team fight.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I think if anything they're not just throwing in the concede vote just yet. But here we go. Bubbles jumps in the Song of the Sea. Silence comes out. Engineer, he's picked off right off the bat. Keeper of the Force, no root just yet. So that's a big deal, of course, for this Legion team not having that cooldown. So Engineer, the good thing is, I mean, he's going to be up in 8 seconds because he's only level 4. Granted, he doesn't have an ultimate, so Is that really the most threatening here? Probably not. BMG going to keep the push going, though. Flux in those front lines, as he can be. As I say that, he gets charged back, though. He says, screwed, I got to use my ultimate. But he's going to be picked up pretty quickly after. And they just cannot get it together. So you stress that. No matter how strong this wombo combo potential is, if you're out-farmed by 17,000 gold now and 13,000 experience, only 16 minutes in especially, it doesn't matter. I mean, even if you get it all together, the items and the levels are just going to be too much. In favor of BMG. So, again, still going to hang in there, but I think Bad Monkey Gaming has this in the bag for the most part. So,
yeah, I mean, to me, there's kind of like 4 kind of different strategies or 4 different ways of winning the game. There's obviously, you've got your late game carry, you know, your team fight AoE, which is obviously being played here for the Legion. You've got the all-in push kind of. And then obviously you've got these kind of this heavy gank and sort of early laning phase, winning in terms of getting high golden XP in terms of the early laning phase, and this is the sort of the style of play that BMG are rotating or running, and they're doing very, very well in how they play it, honestly. It was looking a little bit awkward. I was wondering if they could really get off the ground a bit after the Bloodlust around 5 minutes. I mean, the kills just didn't stop happening. They were just kill after kill after kill. And I mean, look at the golden experience lead. I mean, 17,000, 13,000 experience, only 16 minutes. You know, that's one of the highest I've seen this early on.
Yeah.
And this goes back to, you know, the great sort of strategy that BMG have played. And there's the CC vote already been.
Yeah, well, Conqueror happens, and it's like, okay, yeah, why even try? No point. They call it GG. That was a very interesting stat there, as usual, from Quincy at the very end, though. Parasite, when he's over 300 gold per minute, he's 13-0. That's something. I mean, that's not a high GPM mark to reach necessarily. And I mean, it goes to show you that definitely the hero and how powerful he can be with just some decent farm for your team. So make that 14-0. I'm guessing that wasn't included in that stat line, but 14-0 now, we'll safe to say, including BMG going 2-0 in the series over Nullstone Gaming. And obviously what that means, BMG not only no threat of now being dropped down to the gold division, they're going to move along here in the brackets to the second round. I'll pull those up. Again, they're not updated, obviously, but BMG is going to be moving on. They face the winner of Willowkeeper versus Rexars, which obviously will be played as well as the other first-round matches on Saturday, as was originally planned. So, again, this match got rescheduled for the weekend, but BMG just takes care of business. A new roster for the most part, but it does not matter. They say, you know what, we're still great players, maybe a little bit for some of us, but they made it come together. And they did look very good here. Obviously, there's still more to come as far as throughout the cycle, and as the matchups definitely get stronger, but still a strong start for them. But most importantly, though, Beef still gets to eat McGriddles. And you have to give up tea, is apparently what's going on here. I don't even know if that's possible, but...
I'll find a way, but I don't know, man. Tea's just too good.
Here's the thing. How would we actually know? I'm just saying. But yeah.
Gentleman's bet, man. But yeah, I mean, just honestly, if there was one person that was surprised so much by BMG, it was me. I mean, they have been screaming quite a bit, you know, as of more recently, but I just didn't expect them to come out of the gates so quickly and with such a considerable fashion as well. Absolutely dominated, and had control of the game, from start to finish, honestly. And at the same time, though, I mean, I think I expected a little bit better coming out from Nullstone Gaming, honestly. Even if BMG were going to win, I thought it was going to be at least a close series of a best of 3. But in the end, I mean, BMG just showing their strength altogether.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely looking strong and fun to watch. Like I said, at the same time, and I kind of hate to say it, but Nullstone Gaming, they clearly just. They were not really here to play in their best game today, I think is safe to say, and they would no doubt admit that themselves. They definitely just wasn't there. BMG, they played very well, though, and they by all means deserve this 2-0 victory that they got fairly easy in the end, once again. So, but with that said, that does mean we're going to be wrapping things up here. Again, not the longest stream ever by any means, but that's sometimes what happens. But BMG, they do take care of business, and they, again, take the series 2-0 over Nullstone Gaming. So, as you saw there in the bracket, they're going to be moving on. But it continues. Cycle 2 continues, man, this Saturday. So we'll have, obviously, Daybreak here on Friday. But Saturday, we're going to be coming back, and then we're going to continue the coverage all throughout. So, again, back to the brackets. I believe we'll probably plan to cover Willowkeepers versus Rexars here on Honcast. That should be a really good one. I mean, Willowkeeper's definitely the favorite, but Rexars, they're kind of one of those teams to me where some days they look very good and can be great. Other days, it's just like, okay, not really the best. So we'll see who shows up on Saturday. But
yeah, and with so much money on the line now as well, I mean, damn.
yeah.
I wish I was still a competitor.
Do you? Yeah.
Nah, I love casting, but still.
Casting is fun. Yeah, I wish I was still a competitor. I mean, but like I said, it'd be too easy. I would easy money. I don't want to, take it away from everyone else. So, but yeah, no, it's obviously going to continue on again. Cycle number 2, like I said, the $33,000 prize pool, more than Cycle 1, which I'm sure a lot of people was even somewhat surprised to hear, but definitely a lot of money amongst just the pride and it all. So Cycle 2 is going to be fun. And we'll see if Sync Esports can resume on top, or if some other team is going to prove them wrong and kind of be the new champs. But that's still a ways to go, obviously, as, again, really it all continues and early on Saturday. So with that said, I think we are going to officially wrap up now. Any final words, any shout-outs, Mini Maggot, before?
No, just honestly, very, very well played from BMG, and I'm looking forward to see how far they can go in this cycle too.
I think a lot of people are, and again, we'll continue that on Saturday.